Hi, this is Daryl Myatt from Keller, Texas. Today is Tuesday, November 12th, 2013. I hope you guys are all having a great day today so far. This channel is all about world news, Bible prophecy, end-time events, and the return of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So you will be hearing me preach about Christ and Him crucified being the only way to God the Father. I know a lot of the world doesn't like to hear that today, but Jesus told us we would come to a time such as this, and here we are. All right, let's get right into it today. First story out of thetruthwins.com says Obama plans to force Israel to accept a Palestinian state with Jerusalem as the capital. Now, I know I brought you this story last week, but it's not going away. And to me, this is huge. It's very important. I mean, it sounds exactly like Daniel 9:27. Says if the Israelis and the Palestinians don't agree on a two-state solution by the end of the year, the Obama administration plans to propose its own solution and force it on the two sides in early 2014. For Obama, the goal is to have this agreement in place in time to influence the November 2014 midterm elections. Unfortunately for Israel, the Palestinians have absolutely no incentive to move off their current demands because Obama's been promising them a Palestinian state based on the pre-1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as the capital since very early in his presidency. So the Palestinians have no motivation to get what they want in the end, or since they're going to get what they want in the end anyway. Obama plans to force Israel to give up the West Bank, or as the Bible calls it, Judea and Samaria. Obama plans to force Israel to give up East Jerusalem and control over the Temple Mount in exchange for a promise of peace that is not even going to be worth the paper it's printed on. Okay? Yeah, are you following me? You know, the Bible tells us in the times of the end that Jerusalem will be a burdensome stone for the whole world. It's just amazing to me how Obama treats Israel. Claims to be their friend, yet stabs them in the back every chance he gets. Keep in mind in Obama's book, The Audacity of Hope, or that's the one, right? Where he said if the winds of change should come about, that I would always side with the Muslim people. Not the Jews, not the Christians, but the Muslims. That's who he supports. Obama has been very arrogant about Israel. He said this about Israel earlier this year: Israel doesn't know what its own best interests are. But Obama does? Really? Obama doesn't even know what's best for America. Clearly. Clearly. How can he know what's best for a country he's never even been to? Well, I guess he did go there once, right? So he plans on forcing them. You know, according to the IDF radio, which, by the way, is owned by the Israeli government, the U.S. government plans to submit its own solution and force the two sides to agree to it if the negotiations do not produce an agreement by the end of this year. Now, this wouldn't have been broadcast on IDF radio if the Israeli government had not approved this story. So why should the Palestinians negotiate? All I have to do is wait until early next year and they're going to get everything they want anyway, or at least the next step in the process of what they eventually want anyway. Please, people, keep in mind, Palestinians don't want peace. It's not their goal. It's not their goal. I'm going to show you here in just a second why that's not their goal. That's why they keep coming up with these outrageous demands on Israel. Oh, stop building. Let all our prisoners go. Let all the terrorists go. Everyone that's killed a Jew, let them go. Give us the Temple Mount. Give us Jerusalem. Give us Judea, Samaria, and all the areas of the West Bank. Give us the Golan Heights. Give us this, give us that. And yet they're coming to the table with empty hands. They're not bringing anything to the table. Isn't that rather one-sided? How do you negotiate with someone who has nothing to offer? I mean, really. And of course, you know, U.S. officials are in their typical denial mode. Oh, no, we didn't say that. We don't plan to implement this kind of plan at this time, John Kerry says. Reuters says Israeli and Palestinian officials said the 3-month-old peace talks presented on them by Washington are going nowhere, painting a grim picture for a visit by John Kerry. Of course, the Palestinians have been relying on the fact that the United States government has promised them they will get a state based on the pre-1967 borders. This is all in print. This is all in ink. These are verifiable quotes. Of course, the biggest stumbling block of the negotiations is the status of Jerusalem. The Palestinians are absolutely determined not to agree to any solution that does not give them control over East Jerusalem. And the Israelis are not nearly as unified in their determination not to give it up. I don't think they're going to reach an agreement on that. Not as long as Netanyahu is Prime Minister of Israel. Of course, you get another Prime Minister in there and they'd be willing to give it up, like Zippy Livni. She'd give half of Israel away if she were in charge. Quite an interesting thing here. So what happens when people can't agree? What do they usually do when they can't reach a peaceful agreement? Yeah, they usually resort to fighting. Quite frequently, sadly, is the case. So, 2/3 of the Palestinians believe that the eventual goal of the Palestinian people must be to get back all of the land for a Palestinian state. All of the land. They want all the land of Israel to be all of the land of Palestine. That's their true goal. Zechariah 12:3, and in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. There's a reason the Bible tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. There's a reason that God says he will bless those who bless thee and curse him who curses thee. There's a reason. God is already separating people of the earth. Which side are you on? Are you blessing Israel? Are you praying for peace in Jerusalem? Or are you cursing them, calling them names, saying they are of the synagogue of Satan, like so many even professed Christians like to say? The United States is trying to force Israel to divide her land. So you think we'll find God's blessings or cursings on us for that here in America? This is also interesting to note that we're just about to enter the blood red moon tetrad of 2014-2015 starting next April. Other blood red moon tetrads throughout history have signaled times of great distress for the Jewish people. What do you suppose this coming one will bring? Here's a story out of virtual Jerusalem. Mahmoud Abbas declares all of Israel is occupied Palestine. You think I'm making this stuff up, people, but it comes right out of his own mouth. Abbas's speech at a PA event says all of Israel is occupied Palestine. Gaza, the West Bank, the 1948 lands are occupied. This was part of a message of a speech by Palestinian Authority Chairman Mahmoud Abbas at a memorial this very month. Delivering the speech of Mahmoud Abbas, president of the State of Palestine, as he claims, member of Fatah Central Committee, Jamal Muhassin, stated that not an inch of the land of Palestine has been liberated, including the 1948 lands, which is a term the PA and Fatah used to refer to Israel within the Green Line. All our holy places are still under occupation, and so far we have not liberated 1 inch of Palestinian land. All Palestinian land is occupied. Gaza is occupied. The West Bank is occupied. The 1948 lands are occupied, and Jerusalem is occupied, according to this man. These are the people the world's trying to force Israel to make peace with. People who refuse to think that Israel has a right to exist. People who refuse to say that the Jews were there first. People who refuse to say Israel is a Jewish nation. People who claim there have not been 2 Jewish temples on the Temple Mount. People who claim the Holocaust never happened. These are the people the world's trying to force Israel to make peace with. These people can't even have peace amongst themselves, amongst their fellow Muslims. How can they have peace with Jews? They can't. It won't happen. It simply won't happen. Keep in mind, like I said, peace is not their goal. Driving the Jews from the land and making all of Israel into all of Palestine, that is their true goal. Here's a story out of Jerusalem Post. No, it's a Rut Sheva. The Mufti says Jerusalem is Islamic. Well, we've heard people say America's Islamic. Yeah, might as well go for Israel too. The Supreme Palestinian Mufti, Sheikh Mohammed Hussein, has issued a warning against what he says are the dangerous repercussions of excavating work Israel is allegedly carrying out next to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in territory he says is under the control of the Muslim Waqf Trust, which administers the Islamic Al-Aqsa complex. He is accusing Israel of trying to take over the mosque. He wrote in a statement, they burst into the territory of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and pray in it. He declared Friday, November 22nd, a special day of support for the Al-Aqsa Mosque and for Al-Quds, that's their name for Jerusalem, because if they called it Jerusalem, they would be acknowledging the Jewish right of that city, even though God called it Jerusalem thousands of years before Christ came. Just saying, before there were any Muslims or anyone that went by that name. He claims they're trying to build a false Jewish temple upon the ruins of the old one. He said the Temple Mount is Judaism. Oh, no, he didn't say this. Wait, there's another story. Hang on. Got a similar story here out of the Jerusalem Post. Jordan vetoes Israeli request to allow Jewish prayer on the Temple Mount. The top Jordanian government official responsible for custodianship of religious holy sites in Jerusalem is quoted in local press today saying that he is adamantly opposed to any Jewish worship atop the Temple Mount. Abd al-Nasser Nasser, who serves as Amman's top legal advisor for Islamic and Christian property in Jerusalem, is quoted as telling the Jordanian daily Al-Rad that his government rejected an Israeli request to allow for Jews to pray in a small designated area atop the site. Of course, last week Arab lawmakers stormed out of a meeting of the Knesset Committee for the Interior, which was devoted to the issue of Jewish visitation rights on the Temple Mount. Every time somebody would say Temple Mount, this other man would scream out Al-Aqsa, saying there is no Al-Aqsa. There is no Temple Mount. This man's name is Jamal Zahalka. Furious at the notion of Jews praying on the Temple Mount. He said, there is no Temple Mount. There is only the Aqsa Mosque. I don't see a Temple Mount. It's something virtual. And he called out Al-Aqsa every time anyone in the hearing said the words Temple Mount. Isn't it funny how Satan and his followers like to imitate God? They want to take over things that belong to God, including followers of Christ, including Temple Mount areas. Switching gears here out of the truthwins.com, says why Obamacare will motivate millions of Americans to make less money and get divorced. I'm not going to read this whole story, but it's true. Reducing your income by just $1,000 could possibly get you an Obamacare subsidy worth over $14,000. And married couples have to combine their income so they're qualified for less. Obamacare is actually giving huge incentives for people to get